What's up? What's up? What's up? This your girl Smiley Love, baby. What is the dilly? Oh, today. So today we're gonna do something a little different. I don't knock nobody who does this. I always wanted to get into it. I don't know why, but I guess just by seeing movies and everything, you just be curious of certain things. So I actually been doing my research and looking through it. I actually found this couple on YouTube, and they basically talks a little bit more about dominant and submission relationship. And they're gonna basically tell a story and this and that. So I'm basically gonna do a reaction video up to what is going on. All right, so let's get into it.
Men, you want to be more dominant, you want to blow her mind in the bedroom, and you want to make her your little sex slave.
And women, you want to be submissive, you want to find a dom who will help you explore yourself in a fun, safe environment.
You horny kinksters are going to love this in-depth guide on domination and submission. It's a nice dance between the dom and the sub. What do bad girls get?
Often punishment, spanking, whipping.
See, that's the stuff I don't like.
You have an orgasm, thumb and the index finger, and it should feel good.
A psychological thing in that
You see that
you're
choky
letting
shit?
her know that you're in control.
Like, oh my god, the big bad man is gonna do what he wants to me, but also look after me at the same time. I can protect you. That's why this stuff is so pleasurable for women. Chapter 1, Introduction to Domination.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about what dom and sub actually mean and some of our experience with it. So domination, there are many different ways to dominate, and we're going to talk about these in this in-depth guide. Many ways to be submissive. There are many different types of submissiveness. There's the good girl who just does everything she's told. There's the bratty girl who's a little bit submissive but likes to sort of play and push and pull and be punished and all of that.
There's like a slave dynamic, and that's kind of taking like the good girl energy that step further and being more devoted. And it's also sometimes a bit more clinical.
Yep, there is, and I'm glad you bring up the topic of clinical. There are like official ways to be dom and sub, like you will sign a contract, you will sort of write it out, you will talk about it, you'll be very structured in your dynamic. Or there's the more sort of laid back, we'll just do it and take it as it comes. We'll go into the bedroom, I'll be dominant, I'll take the lead, and you just follow. Almost like your dancing partner.
Right.
I just happen to take the lead and you happen to follow.
Yeah.
In terms of our experiences with dom and sub, this is something that we initiated right from the very start. We met 5 years ago as of the time of this recording, and you wanted someone to dominate you.
Yeah, I was seeking it out. Like, it was definitely something that I wanted to explore. I hadn't explored it very much at the time, but I knew it was something that I was really into. It turned me on a lot. I was into the dynamic, and so I sought you out.
Absolutely, and I very much screened for it. It was exactly what I was communicating on Tinder. So
they met on
my
Tinder
profile, I very much have pictures.
So you can meet your
me
partner wherever
as a
you
dom.
want.
There are pictures of me tying up other women, having them in collars and chains, and I put that in my bio.
That collars and
clearly,
chains,
this is
that ain't
something
gonna
I'm
work for
into.
me.
I'm looking for someone that's into this as well. So I very much put that out there. Any of you that are getting into this, you don't have to put it out there that much. You can just meet people and sort of say,
Some
would you
people
like to
are
try
very
this stuff
secretive
me?
with
Would
it.
you like to try a blindfold? You can kind of like ease your way into it, and we're going to talk in a little bit about how to initiate or how to get this process started if you've never been dominant before, or if you're a woman and you've never been submissive before.
Yeah, and how we do it. So
Okay,
that's
so
how we
they
met. But
teach
how we
you
do it
how.
now is that it's one of the dynamics that we mentioned, which is a lot more laid back. It's not a lifestyle for us. It's just something that we engage in when we have sex.
It's a type of sex that we enjoy, yeah.
And I think it can be very intimidating to some people when it's like this lifestyle, this community. It's this big thing that you need to know a lot about. There's all of these rules. It's very serious. When I think for a lot of the time, the way that we address it is it's very casual, and it's just an extension of our sex life. And I think for maybe people in the community, I've heard that they don't necessarily like people that do it our way, because I think they want to gatekeep and take it really seriously and have it be this big official thing. But each to their own.
Yeah,
this is
it
just
doesn't have to be.
how we like doing it. And if you are somebody that is getting into it and are intimidated, you can start slow and it can be casual and it doesn't need to be a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as for the dynamic that we have now at this point, we're obviously dominant and you're submissive with just us, but we also date other women together. And when we do that, you and I tend to dominate them or her together. So you and I will both be a dom and she will be a submissive. But there's almost like a hierarchy to it. I'm at the top most of the time, and so I almost delegate to you as like my second in charge, my assistant manager. And I'm like, hey, listen, I want you to do this to her, do this next, do this next. And so I'm the top dom, and you're the middle management, and then she's like the submissive down the bottom. She's the low level employee.
So y'all bringing other people in. Okay, so that's why a lot of people don't agree with
no matter how you do it, you can play around with different dynamics. There's no right way to do dom. We prefer very gentle and nurturing domination rather than mean or abusive domination. And we're going to talk about what these terms mean in a little bit. If you and any of the subs that you play with, or if you're a woman listening and you want to be submissive, if any of you are into humiliation or degradation, we will give some tips on that. It isn't something that we do very often. We have played around with it very long time ago, several years ago. But we'll talk about it.
Sound like some control.
As for why domination and submission is hot for the dom, and in this context, we're talking specifically about a male dominant. Okay, we did a separate video which is on our channel on how to be a female dominant, and if you're a man, how to find a female dominant, and so how to be a submissive man. This video is specifically, strictly, if you're a male dom. So why is it hot for a male dom? I'll obviously speak because I am the male dom. There's something incredibly sexy about the dynamic of being able to do whatever you want to the other person within reason, obviously, and we're going to talk about boundaries and consent and making sure everyone has a good time. But there's something really fucking hot about basically having free reign to do whatever I feel like. There's something really fun about that sort of sandbox playground experience of I get to see what I want. I get to try different things and see how it feels. I get to try this and try that and try this and try that and explore in a safe, fun setting all the different things that I'm capable of and that my partner or partners are capable of. There's also something really nice about the kind of dominant sex that we have, where I have a very like paternal, nurturing mindset with it. I'm basically, my favorite dynamic is to mentor my submissives and to teach them, to show them what their body is capable of, to help them explore their own sexual bucket list, to basically open them up as a human being and get them to see what they're fully capable of. I really find that a really beautiful, nurturing dynamic. I absolutely love that, and it's hot as hell. There's something incredibly hot about a girl who hasn't tried something and you try it with her, and then in the middle of it she's like, oh my god, this is so incredibly hot. Like I very much get turned on by my submissives getting turned on. So that's why I like it. Why for you as the submissive do you enjoy that dynamic?
I think it is the complementary opposite, where you like having control and I like giving it up. I like feeling, and especially as somebody who can be a little bit tense or high strung day to day, I like that feeling of completely letting go, having someone else be responsible for my pleasure. And also, I really like to be a pleasure giver. I really like pleasing somebody else, making them feel good, because it is similar to what you said. It is so hot seeing another person in pleasure, and the feeling that you get to serve somebody, to make them feel good, to do what they want without having to worry that it mightn't be what they want because they're asking for it, they're telling you what to do. It removes all of the pressure, and you just kind of get to be this vessel of sex and pleasure, and you just go along with the sensation, kind of go with the flow. And there's something that's very freeing about that, and also very erotic.
Journeys with dom and sub, domination and submission.
So it talks about their journey.
We've talked about why we like it so much. I love the mentoring aspect and all of that. I resisted domination and submission. I resisted kinky sex in general for such a long time. I felt like if I got into this stuff, if I explored this side of myself, this is going to sound like an interesting or weird thing to say, but I felt like it was cheating. I had these notions in my head, this ego, that in order to be a real man, I had to be good at sex, and I had to use my hands and my penis and my mouth and nothing else. And
Because
so the
that's what
idea
we
of
taught.
using toys or restraints or blindfolds or, you know, psychological play or role play or any of that, I had this weird sense that that was like cheating. And so I resisted it for the longest time. And I had a friend that consistently kept saying to me, dude, you have to try this. Dude, try this blindfold. Bro, try this. Like, man, I got some sex toys. I can loan them to you if you want. And he just kept pushing.
That's
me over and over
nasty.
again. And I even spoke to a couple of the girls that he was dating, and they said, like, yeah, like, try this stuff. It's, you know, I opened up to them and said, I'm a little nervous. Like, how is it? Do you like it? Like, is it fun? And they were like, it's mind blowing. Like, why don't you just try some stuff?
Of
like,
course, we all taught regular sex, so
amazing. I promise you will like it.
something different
And
will
I
be
slowly,
out of the
slowly
ordinary.
warmed up to the idea, and I was so unbelievably nervous. And so any guys and any women listening, you don't have to be good with this stuff. As Imi said before, it can be very intimidating at the start. It feels like there's this whole massive world, there's all these different things that I have to do. You often put pressure on yourself, especially if you're going to be the dom, and especially if you're a male. You put this pressure on yourself that, like, you have to be good, you have to perform, you have to do a good job. Like, what if she thinks you're not good at this? But what I did is, from the very start, I just made it very clear to women, like, look, I want to try BDSM, but I don't know what I'm doing. Would you like to meet me, have a drink, see if we like each other, and then do you want to just like try some stuff with me and we can figure it out together? And so each time I would literally say, how about tonight we try ropes? I don't know what to do, we'll figure it out, we'll go slow, we'll just try some stuff and see if we like it. We'll see what you like, we'll see what I like, and we'll try it. The next time I would say, do you want to try some blindfolds and see how that goes? The next time, hey, I got this vibrator, I have no idea how to use it, I literally just bought it. Do you want to try it together? Do you want to explore this? And so,
Okay, so basically what I got from the conversation, the first 10 minutes, basically, you know, you can have a partner, a dominant partner if you want to be submissive. You can have a dominant partner and y'all can make your own rules. It don't have to be certain rules. I totally am against what they're doing, because if you with me, you're gonna be with me. It's no sharing, it's no go on dates, it's nothing like that. But like they said, that would work for them. And of course, you're gonna be nervous at the beginning because we are not taught this. We are taught, you know, like regular sex. We're not taught the outside world. So of course you're gonna be nervous at the beginning. So let's finish. Oh shit.
about wanting to improve and learn.
And I would say the helpful thing is that as the submissive in the dynamic, the pressure is definitely less on you to direct
for sure,
things,
for
because
sure.
you just get to kind of follow instructions, and it almost leans into the submissive dynamic. If you do
So
ask
submissive
questions, ask what your dominant wants you to be doing,
basically
you
less
can kind of
stressed out.
let go a little bit in that respect, but obviously you do still have some responsibilities, and I'm sure it's something that we'll get into,
We
but
will.
communicating what you want is still an important part of this. But for the most part, just give it a go, ask questions, do your best, just like you would with anything. I think sometimes people don't want to talk about sex like it's any other activity, and just like any other activity, if you don't know what you're doing, you ask questions,
Yep.
you figure it out. You're not going to be good at the start, but everybody has to start
Right.
somewhere.
Yeah, give yourself permission to suck with this stuff. Don't expect that right off the bat you'll be the perfect dominant, or any women listening. Don't expect that you'll be the perfect submissive right from the start. No, it's something that you learn and practice. And I think with these dynamics, people put pressure on themselves and they say, I can't let her know that I'm not good at this. Fuck that. Just immediately say, hey, I've never done this before. Like, I'm not going to be good at this. Do you want to explore and learn and grow together?
Communication
and you'll
is
find that
key in any
95%
relationship.
of women say, like, sure, that sounds good. 5% will say, look, I'm really sorry. I was looking for someone that's a little bit more experienced. Probably even less than 5%. But the vast majority of women will say, sure, that sounds good. I don't expect you to be perfect. Let's learn together.
Yeah, give yourself permission to break the fourth
Right.
wall.
Yeah, you're on the same team. I think a lot of the time with some of these BDSM or these kinky sex dynamics, especially dominant and submissive, there's this like weird gap or this barrier between both parties, between the dominant and the submissive, and they will almost, especially the dominant, will almost go like, I can't have this person on my team. It's like, it's me over here as the dominant, and I'm in my own little world, and then they're the submissive, and they're in their own little world. And submissives can do the same thing. They're like, I'm not allowed to reach out to my dominant and ask questions because I have to just shut my mouth and be a good girl.
Right.
No. You're on the same team. We're going to talk a lot about communication and how to have this nice little dance between the two of you and make sure that that communication is flowing. Make sure that you're on the same page, you're on the same team. But I really want to drill it into your guys' head, and any women listening, you too. You're on the same fucking team. Like, it's okay to not be perfect. Just, she's on your team.
I love him. He just
say, hey, let's
blunt
you
with
and me. Let's figure out this BDSM.
He just so
together.
fucking blunt
Rather
with it.
than,
Like, we on the same
all by my
fucking
lonesome,
team.
and I have to do a good job, otherwise she will leave me. No, that's you treating her like the enemy or like the other.
Right.
So we'll jump into the next chapter, chapter 3, which is the actual dom and sub play, as in what you're actually going to do once you're in the bedroom.
Okay.
There is obviously a power exchange going on with domination and submission.
Of course.
The very nature of it is that one person is in the higher position, like the powerful position, or taking the lead is maybe a nicer way of phrasing it, and the other person is the one that will follow. But we want to make it very clear that as the submissive, you still have a lot of power. And you and I have said this many times in podcasts. I believe the submissive has more power.
Really?
Or I believe that
say?
is a very nice, easy way. It's probably the recommended way of doing this kind of dynamic. Give the submissive the power to be able to say no at any point in time. I feel like that's just a basic safety thing. But
Right.
I think a lot of guys, a lot of people get into dom sub play and feel like, all right, as the dom, I can do anything I want and she's not allowed to say no. It's like, that just sounds like a recipe for fucking unhappiness and possible, not sexual assault.
And
but
some
like
dominants love when you say
so,
no like that.
I like to
that
go
turns
into it
them
saying,
on when
I'm
you
the
say
one
no.
that is taking the lead, but she can pause at any point in time. She can say, hey, can we chill? Can we slow down? Can we try something else?
And I think from the female perspective, sometimes when you've said, I want to be submissive, it can often be quite hard to, especially
Then
for the
speak
first
up.
time, speak up, because you've put yourself in a position where you want to take commands and do what the other person wants, but at the same time, you still need to establish what it is that you want. So I would recommend to any men taking the lead, the dominants, to really proactively encourage her to say stop, say slow down, ask for what she wants when the time comes.
Yeah.
And almost check in as well. I think that can be a good way to bridge that gap.
At least at the start when you're with a new partner and you're figuring each other out.
Yeah, absolutely. When you almost need to give her permission to ask for what she wants, and sometimes that can be a lot easier if the dominant man asks the question, do you like this? Would you like to keep going? Would you like more? And it can be done in a very fun, sexy, dirty talk sort of way.
It doesn't have to be this autistic, clinical, boring way that takes you out of the mood. Like, we're not trying to ruin the mood here. You do it in a very sexy way. Like, you can say, like, beg me for what you want. Like, how does that feel? Like, you want me to fuck you harder? Like, ask for what you want. You can make it a very fun, like, dynamic and sexy dynamic. Part of the power exchange and why it's so hot is you, the male dom, and again, this video is just about male doms. We've done a separate one for female doms. You being in charge as the male in this dynamic is very fucking sexy to the woman. Like, it's so incredibly hot. It's part of the sexy part. But she is still allowed to ask for what she wants. So even though you're taking the lead, you're doing all the stuff, I like to foster a dynamic where she can beg for stuff. And as the dom, you will often have to encourage that. Like we said, you'll often have to say, beg for what you want. Beg me. Like, I'm not going to put my dick in you until you beg. You don't get it till you beg. I'm not going to spank you till you beg. Like, you can make them beg for what they want, but that's a really nice dynamic that we like to enter into. It's almost like a dance between the dom and the sub, right? Like, you're pushing, then you're pulling back a little bit, then you go like really, maybe hard or passionate for a little bit, then you sort of stop and say like, beg for what you want. And then it's almost like, and I've called it this before, it's like roller coaster sex. If you think about a roller coaster, you go up and then you go down and then you go up.
That's a great way to
There's a whole range of emotions that are happening there. And that's the kind of like dominant sub dynamic that we like to have, where it's like you go really hard or really fast or passionate for a little bit, then you back off, then you go this. It's this nice little dance. And that sort of gives you both space or time or the opportunity to say what you both want and to figure each other out. I've seen some dominant dynamics where the guy basically just goes 100% and it's like very intense, and that can be incredibly amazing, but you almost don't get enough breathing room in the middle of it to Ask her what she wants. Ask her if she wants to try something else. Make her beg. Like, figure out each other's bodies. So that's just personally the dynamic that we like. It's a little bit like slower, a little bit like push-pull, a little bit like you go fast for a little bit, then you pause for a little bit, then you go fast, then this, then that. We like to mix it up a little bit. We also like to tease as well and like not give the submissive what they want. That's really fun.
We like long, slow, also fast, but drawn out sex where you kind of, when we're engaging in this, sometimes we will make a day out of it. Try a lot of things, take it slow, take breaks.
Like we will literally take a whole day of doing this stuff.
Yeah, we make an event out of it sometimes, and that can be a fun way. It takes the pressure off because you don't need to get everything done right now in this moment and just like get it over and done with in a couple of hours and just go for it. You get to take your time and in the way that we like to do it, not take it too seriously.
Yeah, and let's make it very clear that, again, you might not be perfect with this stuff. It's okay to suck at the start. Like, especially with a new partner, it takes a little while to get into that nice... We're talking about a flow state here, where it's like push-pull, it's like a dance. You know, you go hard, and then she's moaning, then you slow down, and she's begging, then you go hard again. It's a nice dance between the dom and the sub, but you're probably not going to get that the first couple of times you do this, and definitely not with new partners. So all of this stuff, again, it's okay to not be good at this stuff. Just bring her into your team. You improve as you go. Talking about it beforehand absolutely helps, and this is something that we do with like each other, but definitely with every new girl that we date or sleep with. We will get them to write a sexual bucket list of everything that they're into. And so as a dom, that is something that I would do. I would sit down and write your own bucket list, as in your list, just a list of ideas that you might want to try. And we're going to go through like probably 20 or 30 of them right now, and we'll give you a bunch of suggestions. So you write down things that you want to try, and you can give that to your submissive, and you can say which ones of these really turn you on the most. Like, be a good girl and tell me which 5 of these turn you on the most. And then she'll tell you, and you go, right, we're doing those next time we meet. You can also, as like a homework task, and we're going to talk about fun sexual homework. We love to give homework to, I give homework to you.
Homework, okay.
Homework, sex homework is like fucking fun. Girls love sex homework. But as a sex homework task, give them the task of writing their own bucket list. Like you say, hey, I want you to write down a list of all the things that you want to try in the bedroom, like a sexual bucket list, and we'll have fun going through and like ticking each thing off every time we meet. We'll pick 1 or 2 things each time, and we'll tick that off and explore that and have fun with that. And not ticking it off to get it done, but like really exploring and having fun with that shit.
Yeah, because ultimately there is no prescriptive way to do BDSM. Correct. And everybody is going to have different tastes and preferences, and there's not going to be like one way to do it that pleases everybody. Everyone's going to have their own preferences. So this can be a really good way to have, like, open up that discussion as to what your partner wants.
Let's jump into some of the actual sexual bucket list stuff you can try. First one is verbal domination. So, you can get her to call you sir, you can get her to call you daddy, you could call her things, like you could call her, slave, you could call her pet, you could call her kitten, you could call her little one.
Pet.
You can use more verbal degradation terms, and we're going to cover those in a second.
Little one, okay.
Little slut, a little whore, stuff like that. Obviously, make sure she's
little whore.
But, you could have a dynamic where you sort of like act out a scene, and a scene is essentially, just like a scene in a Hollywood movie or something, like a structured little set scene. Like maybe you're the professor and she's the student. You're the daddy, she's your little girl.
Role
You're
play.
the master, she's the slave. Pet play,
Role
which
play.
is where like she's a kitten or that kind of stuff. And so each one of these dynamics or these scenes has a different feel to it, a different dynamic, a different structure. You can also be the more like dominant, aggressive dom, or you could be the gentle, caregiving dom. You could be somewhere in between. You can play around with different ones. You can switch and all of that. So there's different like scenes and role play ideas essentially, but you don't have to do those. You can just do almost like vanilla dom, like where you're just dominating, and so you're being rough, you're being kinky, but she doesn't call you anything. She doesn't have to call you master, she doesn't have to call you sir. It's just normal sex, but you're being extra, you're taking the lead and you're being a little extra kinky or a little extra rough. And we do that plenty of times where it's almost not, it's still BDSM, but it's more just like kinky rough sex rather than let's enter into this scene or this roleplay dynamic. We mentioned it before, but one of the big things that we love to play around with is making the submissive beg. So I will make you beg, or the girls that we sleep with, I'll make them beg. Literally saying beg for me. And so there's many different ways to do this, and it ties nicely into teasing. So you could put just the tip of your penis inside her and then say, you're not getting the full thing until you beg for it. Like, show me how badly you want this. Be my little slut. Like, I need you to earn. Like, you don't just get this, you have to earn this. You can make her beg for orgasm. And so you can get her very close to orgasm, especially if you use a toy or something. And then right when she's at the edge, you tell her this beforehand. You say, you need to beg me for an orgasm. You're not allowed to orgasm, otherwise you'll be punished. You have to ask me for orgasm. And then when she gets to the point, she's like, can I come? You take the toy, like pull it away, and you say, no, you need to beg harder than that. So there's many different ways to initiate begging, but that's probably, at least for us, that's probably the part of like dom sub that we do the most. Begging and teasing is probably the part we like the most. And you as the sub and other subs that we play with seem to like that the most because it makes the orgasm stronger, right? Like if you're being denied, you're edging multiple times. I mean, guys, any of you that have done the same thing, you jerk off and right when you're about to come, you stop. If you do that a few times, when you do finally come, like you come like 10 times harder, right? It feels really good. Other things like brattiness and brat taming. I have done separate entire videos on brat taming quite a few times, but that is essentially this nice little dance between the dom and the sub where the dom will say to do something and the submissive with a big smile on her face, because she's doing it to be like naughty or silly or, get in trouble, will say no or will resist. And it's not proper resisting, like obviously if someone resists, stop and talk about it, but it's like with a big cheeky smile on the face and it's like, no. And like, it's intentionally there so that you will then say like, am I gonna have to punish you? And she would like, maybe. Like it's a fun little dance.
The whole intention of brattiness is to evoke punishment.
Or evoke true domination. There's that too. So sometimes the brat will say like, no, you're gonna have to make me. Because she wants you to really step up and say, okay, I'm going to tie you down and make you there. So, yeah, especially the punishment thing, which we'll go into in a second. Further on that, humiliation. This is something that we have dabbled in a little bit, but anytime we do it, we make it very clear to the girls that we see or to you, the submissive, that it is a fun game and that we don't actually mean those things. So when we're talking about humiliation or degradation, it's like calling names, like, you're a slut, you're this, but you want to make it very clear that that's just in the bedroom. And humiliation and degradation is not really something that we recommend for people unless you absolutely know what you're doing. I wouldn't play around with this stuff. And I've had a few experiences, and you've been there for maybe one or two of them, where the girl seems to be wanting the humiliation and the degradation because she actually doesn't think highly of herself and she has low self-esteem and she almost wants to be ruined or hurt. And in those moments I've realized like, okay, this isn't good for her self-esteem. Like, I don't think this is a fun role play where I'm just calling her dirty names because it's taboo. Like, I think she actually believes these things about herself. Like, she actually thinks she's worthless or she's a whore or she's stupid. I don't want to play with that.
So to do something like this, you have to have
the mission is to always leave people
high
better than we
self-esteem
found
of
them.
yourself. Like you
add
can't
to
have
people's
low
self-esteem. We're trying to make the world
self-esteem
a
at
kinder
all.
place. And I think if you go down this path of humiliation and degradation and you don't know what you're doing, you can hurt people. And it won't be clear that you're hurting them because they will keep asking for it because they believe they deserve that. It's almost like a weird abusive, it can turn into an abusive relationship where they're like, I am a piece of shit, you should call me these things, I don't deserve any better. And you think you're giving them what you want, but some times it can go to a dark place.
Yeah, so I think handle that one with caution. And obviously there are going to be exceptions, and there are people that engage in pretty intense humiliation and degradation and have a good time and both parties are happy, and then you can kind of come out of that space and both be happy with how that felt.
Yeah.
But especially for beginners, and if you're somebody that wants to explore it and your partner's unsure, I think just lay off that.
Yeah, and I think a nice mindset to have is after it's happened, like after we've done this BDSM play or after the bedroom, when we've chilled out, when we're cuddling, or even the next day, do we feel good for having had that experience? Do we feel like we're better off for having had that experience? Like, did that add to our lives, even just a tiny bit? If it didn't, if it's like neutral or it went backwards, like we feel slightly worse about ourselves or worse about the other people, or we respect the submissive less, or she respects herself less, or she respects us less, I wouldn't engage in that behavior. And sometimes this will happen. Sometimes you don't realize you have a boundary until you step over that boundary. Like you both thought, oh, that sounds hot on paper. Then you try it, and afterwards you're like, fuck, that actually wasn't as sexy as I thought it would be. And I don't know if I feel good about myself. That's okay. Just talk about it. Just chill. Explain to each other, like, you know, sometimes this will happen. That's cool. We just won't do that again. Or we'll try it in a different way that maybe we think is healthier. Or we'll go slower, or like we'll change, like whatever you need to do to move forward and enjoy it. But for the most part, I like to have that mindset or that question of, are we both better off after the experience? That's what really matters. Other dynamics to play around with, telling her that she's a good girl versus telling her that she's a bad girl. So these are two fun little things that we like to do. So in other words, praise, and you're going to find that a lot of submissives have a praise kink, and you as the dom might even have a praise kink. Like I have a kink, it's not really a
Praise kink.
I enjoy praising people.
You just like, you're very complimentary during sex, whether it's kinky or not.
Yeah, and I think I am in life too. I will constantly give compliments to people. I do it to all of my coaching clients. I do it to all of you, my audience listening. I just like to make people feel good. And so I love, that's my favorite thing to do to people, to say like, you're being such a good girl right now, or good job, or even just like, man, you're so sexy, or fucking hell, your pussy feels so good, or your tits are amazing. Like just giving those compliments and being very free, like flowing with those. A lot of submissives love that shit, because for a lot of submissives, their biggest fear is that they're not doing a good job for you, that they're not pleasing you, that they're being a bad sub, so to speak. So if you can just keep encouraging her, and it doesn't even take much, like I said, it's just, God, you're so hot, holy shit, you're doing such a good job, like that feels so good, good girl. Like just little bits like that, it helps reinforce the parts of the sex that you like, and then she'll do more of those things. So it's a really nice training tool, and we might do a separate video at some point on how to actually train your sub. I mean, we're going to talk about it a little bit here, but it's a really nice way of reinforcing, like I said, the behaviors you want and moving her in that direction. Like, let's say she's doing an amazing job at giving you a hand job. Fucking flow freely with those compliments and tell her, like, this is the best hand job of my life. Like, holy shit. And you can also give little bits of feedback, like, go a little faster, no, a little slower than that. Perfect. Just keep it like that. That's amazing. Like, keep training her. I think a big thing that a lot of dominants miss is the training aspect. One of my coaching clients, actually, we had this conversation a couple of days ago, and he said, great women aren't found, they're made. I think you can still find great women, right? Like, but the point is that he said, you can help encourage a woman to do some of the things that you like more, and she can encourage you to do the things that she wants you to do too, of course. It's like a nice reciprocal back and forth relationship, but we like to give those free compliments. Because
there's never going to be somebody that knows exactly what you want all of the time. They
can't read this. They can't read your mind.
They can't read your mind no matter how good they are at sex, at kinky sex, at BDSM or anything like that. So you do need to let people know what you want.
That's where communication comes in.
It results in a much better sexual dynamic and just even a relationship dynamic for both of you.
But any relationship
the
is
opposite, flip side of that coin, bad girls.
Yeah.
And when we say bad girls, like, this is a fun little role play. I wouldn't ever put it in your mind that, like, oh, she's actually a bad person or she's a bad human being. No, I think that lowers her self-esteem. It will lower your own self-esteem because it will lower the respect that you have for her. And then you have to ask yourself the question, wait, why am I having sex with someone that I don't respect? So we want to make it very clear, a big part of BDSM and kinky sex, and just even sex and dating in general, is respect for one another. If you can't respect the person that you're with, by definition you are saying, I spend my time with people that I don't respect. Fuck, that means I don't respect my own time or myself or my sexuality or my energy.
Any relationship.
Or my passion. I just give it out to people that I don't even like. So I wouldn't enter into that dynamic. But in the fun way of, like, you've been a bad girl, you've been a naughty girl. What do bad girls get?
Often punishment.
Yeah. And so that's a fun thing that we like to play around with too.
And that's typically in the form of, like, a light physical punishment, like spanking, whipping.
Like this, big paddle, little spank.
And another one that we also like is denial of pleasure.
Yeah,
as another
that's a
form
good way to punish,
of punishment. So, like, not getting sex, not getting played with, getting teased, but not getting, like, full-on sex. Sometimes having orgasms denied.
Yeah.
And obviously part of that is fun because a lot of those punishments do feel good.
There's something nice about being denied. It's a fun little tease. It's like, oh please, like please let me have an orgasm. No, you've been naughty, haven't you? No, please, I'm sorry.
In a frustrating teasing sort of way, because there is ultimately pleasure coming with it, even if it's not fully satisfying. But that then can make you more turned on, more horny, makes it more exciting.
You're more likely to be a good girl to then earn the thing. It's a fun little play around dynamic that you get to play around with, yeah, for sure. And one of the dynamics that you and I do with the girls that we sleep with, and we love this dynamic, my God, like if ever she's being naughty or we want to just tease her and make her beg, what we will do is tie her up and maybe even blindfold her, but tie her up so she can't move. And then I will have sex with you. And then you will spend the entire time teasing her, going like, oh my God, wow, this feels so good. This is the best sex of my life. I wish you could.
It like that, but yes.
But it's that thing. It's like you're saying to her, like, I wish you could have this dick. Oh my God, this is so good. Wow, this. And I will play into that too. I'll be like, yeah, this is like, wow, my dick just feels so good. Man, I wish I had a second pussy to put my dick in right now. But I guess there's no girls that have been good enough to earn that. And then the girl will be like, please me, can I have a turn? I'll be like, nah, you've been bad. I don't know that you get this. Like, I think I might just have to give it all to Emmy today. Like, we'll see. Maybe you don't get any today. We'll see. We'll see how good you are. And so you can play around with that. She'll obviously be begging. And then I will play with, the dynamic even more. And I'll say to you, what do you think, Emmy? Do you think she's being good? Do you think she's being good? And you'll go,
I'm a bit of a softie. I usually say yes.
You almost always say yes, she can have a turn. And then we flip that and do that with the other girl. So then I'll have sex with her for a little bit. And then I'll say to her, wow, this feels so good, doesn't it? Do you think that Emmy should have a turn? Do you think Emmy's being good enough? And she'll go, the girls are always softies too. Both women are always like unbelievably kind and empathetic to the other woman, so they will always answer that question of like, yeah, I think we should share and let her have a turn. And I'm like, but that means less sex for you. And she's like, I know, but I don't want her to be like sad over there not having sex. Girls are really fucking nice in that dynamic, but that can be like a really fun little play around dynamic that we do. Other things that we love as a dominant is to pick your woman up, like physically pick her up and carry her into the bedroom. That's always incredibly sexy. How does that make you feel like when I do that to you?
It makes you feel like little and small and
feminine.
Cute. Yeah, it makes you feel very feminine, and it very clearly leans into the dominant submissive aspect, where it's you're physically dominating the other person and you have the power to pick them up and throw them around the bedroom.
Yeah.
There's something that, like, especially when we do it at the start of sex, so often when we have somebody over, take them into the bedroom, you will pick them up and take it. Sets the scene.
Carry her into the bedroom to start.
Yeah. And it kind of establishes the dynamic from the get-go, and that can be a really good way to kind of start things off.
Yeah, so any guys who are listening right now and you're sort of nervous about starting this sort of BDSM or dominant dynamic, that's a super easy, chill, free, requires no equipment way to start getting into being more dominant or getting into having just kinkier sex. And the vast majority of women love when you take the lead, even if it's just normal vanilla sex, but it's romantic to pick her up and carry her into the bedroom. It makes it feel sexy, it makes it feel looked after. It's just really fucking nice. And you as the man feel like fucking cool as hell doing it. You don't even have to be that strong. When I had, like years ago, when I had never even gone to the gym in my entire life and I was like a stick, I was so unbelievably weak. I couldn't even do a single push-up. I couldn't do a pull-up. I couldn't do a sit-up. Like I was just zero fucking strength. I could still pick most women up. It took effort, but like, whereas these days I can fucking throw them around. So you don't have to be strong to do it. Collars and leashes are another one. You are currently wearing a collar, and we will get out. This is like a little leash that attaches to it, and so you literally just stick that on the front.
It's an animal.
And then you can kind of pull on it, and so that's a very fun one. Other restraints are handcuffs. So we have a nice little pair of pink fluffy handcuffs here. There are ropes, there are all sorts of other restraints, and we obviously won't show them all here, but we love playing with those. Probably one of the funnest ones is this nice little blindfold that we have.
Blindfold.
Stick that over top. Oh my God, now she can't see. So just sort of that feeling of being restrained. That feeling of being restrained, women absolutely love. It's like a feeling of surrender, a feeling of giving in to pleasure, a feeling of like helplessness, but in a sexy way. Like it's sort of this classic female psychology, like fantasy, where it's like, oh my God, the big bad man is gonna like do what he wants to me, but also look after me at the same time. There's an interesting psychological thing that goes on, at play here with women and dominant and submissive, where they want you to be so strong and capable that you can just restrain her and tie her up and do whatever you want, but also be paternal and loving and have that like nice masculine energy about you where you want to protect people. You want to look up. Like a big part of masculinity is having the strength to dominate, but the care or love or gentleness to not hurt someone. So there's a nice there's two things at play there. There's like the strength and the domination and the caring, right? And even if you're having really rough sex, you're still responsible ultimately for the person's safety. Like you're not going to just start fucking punching them in the face or something, or physically or emotionally or spiritually hurt them. So restraint is really fun. Mm-hmm. What part do you like most about restraints or being restrained?
I think you worded it perfectly when you said there's something that's very hot about feeling helpless. And I think there is almost a taboo there where it's like you're not meant to enjoy it and he's doing what he wants, but it happens to feel really good and it gives you pleasure. And there's something like dirty or naughty about that. Taboo is the best word that I can think of. And so I think there's a lot of fun there. It preserves that sense that you're just this like sweet, feminine, pure girl
who's being ravaged by a big bad man.
Yeah, it's really playing up that fantasy in your head, and I find that restraints are a very simple way to do that. I also find that because you're tied up and you're not able to touch yourself, it somehow makes whatever you're doing feel more sensitive. It feels more intense. I think because you're tied up, you're then acutely aware of the fact that you can't stop it from happening. Obviously, you could verbally stop it from happening if you really wanted to.
The fantasy in your head is like, oh no, I can't. Oh no, I can't.
Fantasies.
You pay a lot more attention to what's actually happening to you. And then I think even more so when you start doing things like sensory deprivation, so
like
putting
a blindfold.
A blindfold on or something like that, it really just heightens all of the physical sensations. So all of a sudden what would sometimes feel quite normal, like having fingers run over your chest or your body, becomes so much more heightened and intensified because you're tied up, because maybe one of your senses are removed.
Yeah, if any of you guys have ever had a massage where you have your eyes closed, you'll know exactly what we're talking about here. Just having your eyes closed, like unable to see, taking away that sense, means that the physical touch is heightened. Absolutely. Other things that are really fun, vibrators and dildos. So this is one of our favorite vibrators. It's just called the Satisfier Pro. This is our second favorite vibrator. It's just called the Doxy Magic Wand, just a big giant vibrator. But playing with those and dildos as well. What else we got here? Butt plugs. Got those somewhere, wherever I can't find it. Butt plugs, like all that those kind of physical toys. Like we said, if you tie that nicely into psychological play, like you get your submissive very close to orgasm with the toys, and the toys are just the easiest way to do it because you can keep repeatedly doing it. Your hands don't get tired, and some women aren't able to orgasm with your hands or your mouth, or they at least take like an hour or so to do that, whereas a toy can get them there in like 5 or 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And so get them to the edge, make them beg when they say like, please let me come, I'm gonna come, take it away. Put it back there. Take it away, put it back there. Do that over and over until she's like a quivering, desperate mess. And then you say, all right, beg me one final time and I'll give it to you. And you give her this big, massive explosion. Or sometimes you can just not even give her an orgasm and you just have sex with her and you say like, you're going to have to earn that orgasm next time. Or you could have fun with it and say, I want you to go home. Like, so you have sex, you do everything, but you don't give her an orgasm. You say, I want you to go home. I want you to masturbate for me and video it for me. Send it to me. I want to see how like desperate you are for me. Like show me how much I drove you crazy.
I don't do stuff like that.
That is such a fun.
I don't like record picture.
It's one of your favorite things.
Send nothing.
Yeah, I think definitely playing with orgasm.
I don't think that would change my mind.
Obviously pleasurable, like you're getting physical pleasure, you're getting close to orgasm. There's a lot of fun there, and I think the desperation that comes with that as well. There's something that's very hot, it's very erotic to be desperate, to feel a little bit animalistic, because when you get very, very horny and close to the edge multiple times, you start feeling a bit crazy.
You do start to lose your mind in a good way.
Yeah, you let go of all of your inhibitions because all you can think about is like achieving an orgasm, and it feels nice to let go in that sense and kind of not hold back, and you're just fully charged with that sexual energy. It's very, very hot.
It's a big part of the reason why people like dom and submissive, especially the submissive, because it's that letting go. It's in that moment when you're so focused on the sex that you're having, or the pleasure, or the way it feels, or being a good girl for your dominant, you forget about the mundanities of life. You forget about like, oh, my boss is a dick to me. You forget about like, man, how am I going to pay the rent this week? Like, you forget about all of that, and all you can focus on, especially if you add in like sensory deprivation, like you're wearing a blindfold or something, so you're not even thinking about your sight.
Right.
All you can think about is the sexual pleasure and being a good girl and having fun, and man, this is so hot, this is amazing. It really does get you into this beautiful, like meditative, deep, focused state, which is very similar to any of you that have had a massage, or gone to a float tank, or taken, psychedelic drugs, or just having a beautiful coaching session, or going away on vacation, or just having time to chill, or feeling like you've handled all of your needs and you're not that stressed about any big things. It's this beautiful way to just sort of disconnect from the stress of life, or the stresses that might be in your life. And so we've found, we didn't talk about this before, but we've found that BDSM sex can be incredibly healing. Because for a lot of people, it's like, man, I need this. I need this in the same way that I might need a massage once a month, or I might want to do a float tank every now and then, or I might just want to go and sit on a fucking beach, or sit in a park and just chill, or hang out with my friends, or have a drink after work, or whatever it might be. BDSM sex can be that same sort of healing process.
Yeah, and quite often, even with normal sex, afterwards you just feel relaxed. Like
a massage or something.
You've let go of a lot of tension.
Right.
You've realized that a lot of the things you were stressing about don't really fucking matter, because you just had the best goddamn sex of your life, and it's almost a spiritual experience. It can be a very spiritual experience, what we're talking about here. Amazing. Other things to play with, wax play, so you just grab a candle, and I would suggest grabbing special like bedroom candles or sex play candles. Just search for sex play candles, because they burn at a lower heat. Like, they're deliberately designed to not get as hot as a normal candle, and so it doesn't hurt as much when you put it on the skin. So basically, you set it on fire, you gently just hold it like this, and you will drip the wax onto the person's body, and it's this really interesting sensation where it's like hot and like almost painful, but not quite painful. It's just an interesting sensory experience.
It's a light sting, and it cools down very quickly. So it kind of just wakes up your senses in a way, and makes you very alert to what it is that you're feeling, similar to a lot of the other things we mentioned.
Not no candle flare.
Sure. Other things, we'll move the microphone out of the way. So choking is a big one. Now, when you're choking, don't physically stop the person from breathing. I feel like that should go without saying. But what you're not doing, don't squeeze here on the front. So don't put pressure, like don't push your hand forward on that bit there, because that's her esophagus. That's how she fucking breathes. What you want to do is get your fingers, your thumb and your index finger, and then you have the rest of your fingers too. But the thumb and the index finger, you stick them around the side, and those two you're squeezing. So you're almost like closing like that. And so you're just putting pressure on the side. Again, don't put pressure on the front, because then she can't fucking breathe.
Right.
And then she'll go, and you'll go, oh wow, does that feel good? No. That fucking
no,
hurt.
bitch, I'm about to
and
die.
It hurts as well if you put pressure on the front there. It hurts. So just gently rest the hand there on the front, and then squeeze the thumb and the index finger, and it should feel good. See there, look, she literally fucking slightly opened her mouth because it feels so good. So that's really fun. That's a very dominant thing that you can do during sex. You can do it before sex. I love to do that when kissing. I love when we meet a new girl for the first time and we're back here. You will start kissing her, like you'll be making out with her, and then I will gently get my hand in there and squeeze her neck very gently, and she will just start like fucking moaning like crazy. So choking, we should maybe not even call it choking. I don't think that fully explains, because it just sounds like you're going like it's not that, it's neck squeezing. It's like squeezing the side. I know that doesn't sound sexy, I know, but we want to make it very clear. You're not choking the person, you're just putting pressure on the sides of the neck with your hand like that, ain't fucking with it. Even right now as I'm doing that, see how I can still talk, but if I push, I can't talk and I can't breathe if I push my hand in. So
yep. And to be clear though, if you keep holding there for long enough, that can restrict airflow and you could pass out. So don't hold there for like 2 minutes and think that everything is going to be okay.
Yeah, it's more that you're putting pressure there as a sign of dominance. It's almost like that's a part of the person that you're holding while you're having sex, or while you're making out with them, or while you're fingering them, or whatever you might be doing. It's almost like a point that you can hold on to, rather than like, I'm trying to choke you out like this is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or MMA or something. No, you're not trying to like choke the person out.
And funnily enough, it's actually quite similar to a massage. in that, like, if you have had your neck massaged, that pressure feels really good. Like, it kind of makes you feel like buttery and relaxed, and just like you want to melt into that feeling. So like,
well, she just compared it to a massage.
Next one, very similar to this, again, be gentle with this, is hair pulling. And we might do a separate entire video on how to pull hair, but what you don't want to do is just grab a couple of strands like this and pull.
Hey, you can do that.
So what you want to do is, she's got her hair tied up in pigtails right now. So you want to grab as much hair as you can right there. See how I've got as much hair? And you want to hold it as close to the base as you possibly can. The further out that you hold it, the more it's likely to break the hair and yank on it. So get really close to the scalp. And here you can see I've just got it. And you just like gently putting pressure. Like, don't yank really fast, because that's like, ow, that fucking hurts. You can also kind of get your hand like this, where you extend your fingers and you kind of just like run it up the back of her hair like that. And then you can see I've got a big clump of hair now with my fingers, and you can kind of just grip that and you can like pull back on that. And it should feel nice. You're not really doing it to like yank her hair out and pull bits of her hair out. So you go, ow. And there were times, I mean, there's still some times now where I do it a little bit too yanky and you're like, ow. And it's like, okay, that's not sexy. Like, that's just, ow, what the fuck? So it's meant to be, or it's more fun if it's a sensual thing, if it's like a pleasure thing, especially like doggy style or something like that. You seem to like it. The other girls that we date seem to really like that one. Just a little bit of hair pulling during sex or during making out, like gently pull her hair and pull her back. So she goes like that, head back, and then you make out with her. Or you can kiss her neck. You can pull her hair back so her neck is exposed, and then kiss her neck, or even pull her hair back and then gently choke her neck or squeeze the sides of her.
Now you're drawing the line.
A lot of it is just asserting physical dominance gently. It's almost a psychological thing in that you're letting her know that you're in control and that you have that physical dominance, but not to the extent where
it's dangerous.
Yeah, it hurts or it's uncomfortable. It's letting her know that it's there, and the idea of that is what's hot.
Yeah, again, the psychological thing that is sort of going on there is, I could hurt you. This is me gently demonstrating that I could fuck you up if I wanted to. I'm a nice, caring person, and I care about you, and I want the best for you, and I'm going to look after you.
I'm a nice, caring person.
That physical strength of like, gently pulling her hair back, choking her, picking her up in the bedroom, like pinning her down, restraining her, like fucking her roughly and passionately. All of that kind of stuff is you basically demonstrating, look at the fucking strength I have. I can protect you. That's why this stuff is so pleasurable for women, because you are essentially getting across, I'm a big strong man who'll look after you and make sure you're okay in the world. It's a very caveman instinct of like, if wolves come or a lion comes or an opposing tribe comes, I will protect you. I will.
That kind of makes sense.
This is my demonstration that
I don't like the example he used,
you're doing that
but
in
that
a
kind of
sexual,
makes
fun
sense.
way. And so none of this stuff is meant to hurt. You can, if you take it over that line where it becomes dangerous, it stops being sexy.
Right.
Like, if you just start yanking her hair and she's like, ow, 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 what are you doing? You just like start choking her and she starts coughing. Now it's like, holy shit, fight or flight. Do I need to defend myself? I feel like most of you would know that, but with this stuff, if you're new to it, start unbelievably gently. Unbelievably gently. Go like 5 times more gently than you think you need to, and just, you can slowly work your way up. You can do it very gently, and we do this a lot, especially with a new girl who might be nervous or shy. I will go unbelievably gentle, and then I'll say, how does that feel? Do you want it a little harder? And every single time they're like, yes, please, a little harder. And then I'll go a little bit harder. I'll be like, how's that? Do you want it harder? And you can kind of just like ramp up. And then when you get to a point where she's like moaning, okay, cool, that must be as hard as, you can try a little bit harder than that, but that's a nice way to sort of gauge how it feels. Is she moaning? If she's not moaning, it's probably either going too hard or you can go a little bit harder. Sex positions. Some of the fun sex positions that we like that are very dominant. Obviously doggy style, especially if you push her face down into the bed. Maybe you pull her hair a little bit, maybe you spank her. There are many ways to make doggy style very dominant. Making her get down on her knees looking up at you, especially if she's giving you a blowjob, or if she has a collar and leash and you can kind of like gently pull on the collar.
Oh, collar and a leash.
Pull her neck. That's probably the most dominant position, right? Like down on your knees. And you can literally say get down on your knees.
Yeah.
Right.
Picking her up and fucking her in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Some of you listening might be like, wait, how does that work? I can't picture that in my mind.
You've probably seen it in porn.
Yeah, you get her to sit on top of you, and we've done separate videos on how to actually do this. You get her to sit on top of you, and then you sort of her legs are under or over your arms. You stand up, and so you're sort of like bouncing her up on
all right.
And yeah, we've done separate videos on that, so you can just go and watch those. But that's a very fun one, bouncing her up and down. You can also do missionary, but you would hold her legs up in the air and wide apart, or you would choke her, or you would like physically have her wrists above her head and you would be pinning them down, or her tied
Right.
up. So there are lots of different ways to play around with sex positions and make them dominant.
Okay.
Being rough or aggressive. If you're going to be very rough, what do these people need to do? Number one,
Make sure that the other person wants it rough.
Right.
I feel like, yeah, communication. And you can slowly edge your way up and get rougher and rougher. You can say, how does that feel? Do you want it rougher? And she would say, like, yes, please. You can just keep asking, right? You don't have to just go 100%. And then she's like, fuck, what are you doing?
And with that, I would absolutely
Right.
recommend ramping it up, because when you go from 0 to 100, if you're not horny yet, really rough sex often doesn't feel good.
Especially, like, physically, if you're not wet because you haven't, like, done enough foreplay yet.
Correct. And so if you're not in the mood, stuff that's very, like, if you were to do some of the stuff that you do, like spank me as hard as you would in the middle of rough sex after we've been playing for an hour or so, right now I'm going to say, ow, that hurts.
Yeah.
But in the middle of sex, it's fun and it's hot because we've ramped up, I've gotten horny, and then when I'm in the middle of pleasure, things that are more rough feel better.
Yeah, physically your body responds differently to pain, to roughness, to passion, and all of that when you're actually turned on.
Yeah.
It really does. And so, I mean, you can even test this yourself if you want to. You can try, I don't know, right now, just grab your dick. I mean, maybe don't do this while you're watching this video. That'd be interesting.
If you want.
Don't jerk your dick while you're watching this video. Grab your dick and just start like jerking it as hard as you can right now while it's soft. And you'll probably be like, ow, what the fuck? That actually hurt. Why does that hurt? And then get yourself all turned on and then try it. And then you're like, oh wow, why does it feel good now? Because your body physically responds differently to pain, to pressure, to speed and roughness and all of that sort of stuff. So
Right.
absolutely love that. Communication is key.
Yeah.
Safety is important.
Right.
Probably the best way of handling safety, and we're going to do an entire section at the end of this video or towards the end of this video on safety, consent, boundaries, making sure that each person has a good time and all of that. Probably the number one thing we would underline is just go fucking slow. Start really small. Start with one or two things from the list that we just gave you. You know, like maybe try a blindfold. Maybe try spanking her. Maybe try just really gently choking her. Maybe try making her beg for an orgasm. Just pick any of those one things and just play around with that. And then add one more thing to your repertoire the next time. So the next time you go, okay, I think I'm okay with spanking. I think I understand how that works. Why don't I try choking her? Why don't I just spend the entire time with her learning how to squeeze her neck and make it feel good? Okay, I'm pretty good at that. The next time, why don't I try hair pulling? And just add one thing to your repertoire at a time. It's probably the easiest way to handle safety. And obviously you can have safe words and things like that, and we'll talk about that towards the end of the video.
Okay. So I know that was a lot of information. A lot. So basically, I mean, I'm not judging nobody. I'm never gonna judge anybody. To each his own. Everybody, you know, everything works for everybody different. It probably will be something that maybe I'll try down the line, but it would have to be with somebody who is new to it. You know, who is new to it, just like I'm doing it, so we can go at our own pace and learn and get into it and, you know, grow in it together. Yeah. Lord, where should I start? I love that he, you know, like he said, that works for them. And I specified that before. It works for them with them bringing other ladies, them going on dates. Like I said, that works for them. I probably wouldn't be interested in that. Toys, depending on what type of toys, maybe. Restraints. Ooh. Baby, he is not putting no collar around my neck. I promise you that. But like I said, if I would ever get into something like that, it would have to be with somebody that want to experience like I want to experience, just to see if it works with, you know, if it works or if it doesn't work. like he said, communication is always key. You can go at your own pace. Um, oh, you can go at your own pace. So, just basically you communicating with that person, like, okay, hey, so even I like that the simple fact that he said you can do a list, like do a list of a bucket list of what you want to try, and you can basically work on fulfilling some of that list. Maybe take two off your list and two off his list, and try it out or whatever. Yeah, that was crazy. That's a lot. All right, so just a little backstory of why I've been so interested in it. I was reading this book. If anybody know me, I love my books or whatever. I was reading this book, and it was about this lady. She had lupus. She was just getting out of a relationship. She started talking to this guy. Well, in the transformation of her leaving the first dude, the second guy was actually her contractor. He built her entire house. Her parents had full control of everything but that specific room. She didn't want her parents to know about this specific room, but she basically gave him all the tools, whatever. He actually worked on it himself. He actually had workers. Well, backstory on him was he was in the streets, whatever. But he wanted to meet her to see who she was or whatever. And they end up actually getting together. And they had one of these how can I say it? Like, he was more, they never brought nobody in the bedroom. They had like different she had a dungeon. So like when they first started talking or whatever, she had a bed and everything in there. And like he would actually what I was about to say. My mind is a million places because all this knowledge I just got is like so crazy to me. But anyway, so they started dating, and he actually helped her try out the dungeon. When she first moved in, he actually helped her try out the dungeon. But I love their relationship because he was very like a supportive, caring person. Like, how he treated her. I would say they was part-time. Well, not really. I would say that they was more part-time dominant and sub. And this is why I would say, because well, I mean, you could say their whole relationship was, but pretty much I say it was part-time because it was mainly in the bedroom, about the begging, the role play, the all of this they would do, like, afterwards, at nighttime. During the day they really like live like regular lives, like you'll never know. And they had a safe word. They both had safe words. So like they would probably start, sexual in the kitchen, and he'd be like, you want it, or say word or something like that before he would do anything. So and she said her word. I forgot what her word was, but she would say her word, and then they will probably start kissing and making out, whatever. He pulled her hair. But the backstory on her was she had lupus. So he would be very general because she was so fragile, because anything any type of pressure or something could cause her a flare up. And actually their first date, she actually called a flare up where he had to take her to the hospital. So he grown to like be very fragile with her, and be very, very cautious. So it kind of made me like, okay, maybe I can dig deep into this. But like he said, people make their own rules. You can make your own rules. That's why I would say, if I ever was to do this, it would be with somebody who's, fresh to it as me. So we can go at our own pace, so we can see what works and what doesn't work for us. I'm not sure that other female, I don't know about all that. For sure, the collar and some of them restraints, nah. The paddle and the whips, yeah. The blindfold, yeah, I can do that. But like some, like you just do what works for you. Communication, that's something he expressed like the entire video, like communication. Communicate. If you don't like something, you tell them you don't like it. Me personally, I can't have no, aggressive. Nah. Like, you have to give me some leeway, because I do have the say so of what goes on. Like, yeah, you're gonna give me some. I can be submissive to a certain point. But when I don't like something, like, nah, you gonna stop. No means no. The choking and some people do that, and it may be hot to some people. Especially, I just don't like that she compared it to a massage. And I don't know about all that, but like he said, you don't go right here, you go on the side. So maybe I don't know, but yeah. So, but that's all I'm gonna cover today. Yeah. Y'all, I'm just so blown away, and I don't know why. I really don't know why. Like, this like really been like so heavy on my mind. That I decided to do a reaction video. Instead of just talking all the time. Like, I wanted to do a reaction video, and it's like all this knowledge, all the knowledge, and I'm pretty sure, like you say, everybody do have a different way of doing theirs. But I can be submissive for only so long, because I need some leeway. I need me a gentle dominant. Somebody that's gonna care about my feelings, like him. Because he seemed like I see he's like a coach. He's like a life coach or something. He probably coach people how to be dominant. I'm pretty sure he does. But yeah, I'm just I'm just so like so caught off guard. It's crazy. But anyway, on that note, we're gonna head out. Your girl Smiley Love is signing out tonight. Y'all have a good night. I hope y'all enjoyed. And I think I want a part 2. I think I'm gonna come out with a part 2, because I didn't go through the whole video, but I'm gonna basically see what the rest of the video about, and that's gonna determine if I'm gonna have a part 2 or not. So, good night, y'all. This your girl Smiley Love, and I am signing out.